Hello and welcome to this news live from Islamabad. I'm Jawad Tehami and these are the headlines. A passenger plane with 62 people on board is feared to have crashed after takeoff from the Indonesian capital Jakarta. The Boeing 737 was bound for the city of Pontianak on the island of Borneo. Officials say they found pieces of debris in waters just northwest of Jakarta that they believed may be from the plane's wreckage. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says India is behind the terror attack that killed 11 coal miners in Balochistan last week. Speaking to the families of the victims in Qatar, Khan said India is conspiring to kill religious leaders in Pakistan to fan sectarian violence. He said ISIS is working in collaboration with some terror groups backed by India. Over 100 British lawmakers have written to Prime Minister Boris Johnson to take up the issue of the farmers' protest with his Indian counterpart. Thousands of farmers have been protesting at Delhi borders since late November, demanding a complete rollback of laws they say favor big corporates. But the Indian government has not agreed to their demand despite 8 rounds of talks. The UK has reported its highest daily COVID-19 related deaths with over 1,300 fatalities overnight as its toll nears 80,000. The US has registered a record 290,000 cases in a day, while its case load has crossed 21.8 million with over 368,000 deaths. Pakistan has recorded over 2,000 new cases and 40 fatalities overnight, while the toll is approaching 10,600. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 1.9 million lives and infected over 88.8 million. And in tennis, Russia's Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova has stunned former world number 1 Karolina Pliskova in the second round of the Abu Dhabi Open. The 21-year-old qualifier took only 72 minutes to secure a straight-set victory against Pliskova. She will next face Sara Sorribes Tormo in the last 16. Those are the headlines and detailed stories right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now with the news in detail. A passenger plane with 62 people on board is feared to have crashed after takeoff from the Indonesian capital Jakarta. The Boeing 737 was bound for the city of Pontianak on the island of Borneo. Officials say they found pieces of debris in waters just northwest of Jakarta that they believed may be from the plane's wreckage. In a statement, Sriwijaya Air said the management is still communicating and investigating the matter. The Indonesian Navy said it has determined the coordinates of the plane and deployed ships to the location. The airline started operations in 2003 and has never had a fatal crash before. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says India is behind the terror attack that killed 11 coal miners in Balochistan last week. Speaking to the families of the victims in Quetta, Khan said India is conspiring to kill religious leaders in Pakistan to fan sectarian violence. He said ISIS is working in collaboration with some terror groups backed by India. He said the government has created a security cell which will provide protection to members of the affected community. Khan also hailed efforts of security forces and intelligence agencies to curb sectarian violence in the country. Pakistan has repeatedly asked the international community to take notice of India's state sponsorship of terrorism. Pakistan says the Kashmir dispute is not just a territorial issue, rather a dispute about the soul of the people of Kashmir. Envoy to the UN, Munir Akram, said this while speaking at the webinar organized by the Pakistan mission. He said the recent human rights violations in Kashmir are alarming. Munir Akram said Pakistan has re-internationalized the Kashmir issue. The ambassador said Pakistan supports Kashmiris in their struggle for the right to self-determination. The Pakistani envoy also lauded heroism of Kashmiris for keeping their spirit of resistance alive for generations. He said every Pakistani has a deep sense of commitment to the Kashmir cause. Over 100 British lawmakers have written to Prime Minister Boris Johnson to take up the issue of the farmers' protest with his Indian counterpart. Thousands of farmers have been protesting at Delhi borders since late November, demanding a complete rollback of laws they say favor big corporates. But the Indian government has not agreed to their demand despite 8 rounds of talks. In the letter, they said the Indian farmers are being subjected to police violence. Prime Minister Boris Johnson had to cancel his Republic Day visit to India amid the growing agitation. Earlier, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also expressed concerns over the unrest in India. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani says he will complete his term in office. This comes amid rumors about the prospect of an interim setup as part of the peace talks that have resumed in Doha today. Earlier, various reports suggest Ghani refused to meet a U.S. envoy, Zalmay Khalilzad, last week over the matter of forming a transitional setup. The U.S. is pushing for a power-sharing arrangement in Afghanistan, but Ghani said he will hand over power to his elected successor as the Taliban's approach can't be imposed on the Afghans. The Taliban, meanwhile, have rejected the possibility of an interim government setup in the country. They ask the government to show flexibility to take the peace process forward. Qatari vehicles have crossed into Saudi Arabia through a land border for the first time after both the countries restored ties. However, flights between Qatar and the 4 Arab states have not yet resumed. Earlier, a UAE official said travel and trade links could resume within a week of the deal. On Thursday, Qatar Airways began rerouting some of its flights through Saudi airspace. Measures to contain the spread of the new coronavirus are in place on both the sides of the Saudi-Qatar land border. On Tuesday, Saudi Arabia announced a US-backed deal to end a bitter dispute with Qatar. Israeli forces have fired rubber bullets and tear gas shells at a protest in occupied West Bank, injuring at least 7 Palestinians. A Palestinian media said protesters were demonstrating against the building of illegal settlements in the Deir Jarir town in Ramallah. It said dozens of protesters also suffered suffocation. Earlier, the Palestinian government also condemned Israel's decision to close the historical Ibrahimi Mosque in the Hebron city. Twitter has permanently suspended US President Donald Trump's account over risk of further incitement of violence after Capitol riots. The company said the decision was made after close review of recent tweets from the US President's account.
Twitter's move comes amid a big technical purge of online platforms used by Trump and his supporters. Trump accused the company of conspiring to silence him and suggested he may build his own platform in future to counter Twitter. Following the suspension, Trump has lost his most powerful megaphone with 88 million followers. Scores of politicians and celebrities welcome the social media giant's move to block Trump permanently. Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden said it was a good thing Trump is not attending his inauguration. Talking to reporters, Biden said the Congress will decide on Trump's second impeachment. He called for an investigation into Wednesday's storming of the Capitol Hill.
Let me begin by expressing my deep sympathy for the family of Capitol Officer Sicknick, who has died in the line of duty. Our sympathies and our concerns go out to his family, and the people responsible should be held accountable, and they will be.
Biden said Vice President Mike Pence is welcome to attend his inauguration.
In the U.S. state of California, a federal judge has barred the government from overhauling the country's asylum system. The new rule, set to take effect from Monday, aimed to restrict asylum eligibility for immigrants seeking refuge in the U.S. It also directed immigration judges and asylum officers to deny broad types of asylum claims. A district judge granted an injunction sought by immigrant advocacy groups seeking to block the rule. He said the government recycled same legal claims made in their prior cases rejected by several courts. The groups argued that acting Secretary of Homeland Security Chad Wolf lacked legal authority to impose the rule. The injunction undermines the Trump administration's last-minute efforts to solidify its hardline immigration policies. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un has called the United States his country's biggest enemy. Kim said Washington's hostile policies towards Pyongyang will not change regardless of who occupies the White House. Addressing the Congress, Kim pledged to expand North Korea's nuclear weapons and military potential. He said new planning, research for a nuclear-powered submarine was almost complete. He added Pyongyang will not misuse the nuclear weapons and they were only meant to boost its defense capabilities. North Korea has poured vast amounts of resources into developing its nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. Kim's remarks present a stark challenge to President-elect Joe Biden just days ahead of his inauguration. Japan has rejected a landmark ruling of South Korean court on wartime comfort women. In a telephonic conversation with his Korean counterpart, Japan's Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi said the ruling violates international law. Motegi said the decision contradicts a 2015 accord between Tokyo and Seoul to finally and irreversibly resolve the issue. He called on Seoul to immediately take appropriate measures to correct this violation. Seoul's court ordered Tokyo to compensate women forced by the Japanese forces to work as wartime sex slaves during the World War II. The court ruled that Tokyo must give over $91,000 each to 12 women who were abducted during the war period. In Somalia, a U.S. airstrike has killed 5 key members of the al-Shabab militant organization. The U.S. military said the strike killed the wanted militants in a joint operation with Somali army near Sagza, Vienna. It said one of the slain leaders was involved in an attack on the U.S. and Somalian military forces. The military said the targeted leaders also facilitated operations of finance, weapons, fighters and explosives. Meanwhile, Somali army chief said 8 top terrorists were killed in the strike, including the regional head. Last week, a U.S. aircraft carrier was deployed near Somalia to protect the troop withdrawal from Mogadishu. It's time for a short break. We'll be back with more stories. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The UK has reported its highest daily COVID-related deaths with over 1,300 fatalities overnight as its toll nears 80,000. The US has registered a record 290,000 cases in a day, while its caseload is crossed 21.8 million with over 368,000 deaths. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 1.9 million lives and infected over 88.8 million people. More in this report.
In the first working week of 2021, most of the coronavirus states registered record deaths and cases since the start of the pandemic. Canadian PM says the rising cases are frightening as he warned of a tough days ahead amid likeliness of lockdown's extension. The White House task force says the U.S. may have its own version of a more transmissible coronavirus that might be fueling the already aggressive spread. Some U.S. states are pulling in non-traditional vaccinators, including dentists, retirees, students, as well as the members of National Guard to aid the vaccination process. Meanwhile, the ICUs and the morgues are jam-packed in Southern California.
We are in the middle of a surge right now. There hasn't been a top yet, so this seems to be continuing, and we expect it to continue for at least the next few weeks. So while we're already surging and overwhelmed, we expect additional we're anticipating additional needs. So, we're doing everything we can to try and set up more and more space.
The head of the World Health Organization expresses concerns over low and middle-income countries not yet receiving COVID-19 vaccines. He called on countries to order excess doses for immediately handing them over to the COVAX vaccine sharing facility. Meanwhile, in the UK, Mayor Sadiq Khan has declared emergency in the capital London as the hospital struggled to cope with the influx of patients. Australia is on high alert after cases of highly transmissible new variants of the coronavirus have made it into the country.
So long as the pandemic exists, so long as people are travelling, the risk of the virus seeping into the community is already there, and anything we can do to reduce that risk is really important, especially now when we're understanding what these strains are doing, and all the experts advise in due course that these mutant strains will become the dominant strain. So the virus is changing, and it's important for us to make sure we keep learning.
China has locked down Shijiazhuang, a city of 11 million people, to contain the country's worst coronavirus flare-up in months. Meanwhile, Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud has received a vaccine jab 3 weeks after the kingdom kicked off its 3-phase inoculation program. Saudi Arabia says it will lift a ban imposed last month following the discovery of new strains of COVID-19 on international flights from 31st of March.
In Pakistan, 40 people have lost their lives to COVID-19 over the past 24 hours. This takes the country's death toll to over 10,598. The health ministry reported 2,007 new infections overnight. According to the ministry, the countrywide infections tally has crossed 499,000. The health officials said there are more than 33,000 active COVID-19 cases in the country. Pakistan has sent a special plane carrying essential emergency relief supplies to Sudan. In a statement, the Foreign Office said the relief was sent as a gesture of goodwill and solidarity with the people of Sudan. Sudan's Commissioner General for Humanitarian Aid, Ahmed Al-Bashir Ibrahim, lauded Pakistan's support. The relief aid comes amid rising COVID-19 cases in Sudan, with the total number of deaths reaching almost 800. 10 newborns have died in a massive fire that erupted in a hospital in India's western state of Maharashtra. Officials say 7 other infants have been rescued. According to hospital authorities, the fire broke out at the sick newborn care unit of the hospital. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained, while the Chief Minister of Maharashtra has directed a probe. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed grief over the unfortunate incident. In Chile, hundreds of anti-government protesters took to the streets of Santiago calling for an end to inequality. Police in riot gear used water cannons to disperse the demonstrators. The demonstrators were calling for reforms to pension, healthcare and education systems. This South American country has been witnessing protests for more than a year now. In October, Chileans voted in favor of a new charter to replace country's Pinochet-era constitution. In Malaysia, at least 6 people have died and nearly 50,000 evacuated after monsoon rains pounded the country's eastern coast. Authorities have described it as the worst flooding in half a century. Officials have stepped up rescue efforts after locals complained they had to fend for themselves earlier this week. They said heavy rains have battered the region since Friday, forcing over thousands to abandon their homes. The region experiences flooding and mass evacuations during the rainy season every year. At least 3 people died as an avalanche hit a ski resort in Norilsk City, Siberia. The Russian Emergencies Ministry said the avalanche buried 5 tourist cabins with people trapped inside them. The ministry said more than 200 rescuers are working on the site looking for the survivors. It said rescuers have so far saved a family of 4 in initial relief efforts. Meanwhile, 2 people managed to get out from under the snow by themselves. The ministry has not confirmed the number of people trapped in the cabins. In Spain, 4 people have died after Storm Filomena caused travel chaos across the country. The storm covered Madrid and the heaviest snowfall in decades, prompting troops to be mobilized to rescue trapped motorists. The rescue services were able to reach around 1,500 people trapped in cars. Other Madrid residents used the freak blizzard to snowboard down the road. Spain's Interior Minister has urged Spaniards to avoid all but essential travel. Madrid regional authorities said schools and universities have been closed until Wednesday. Scientists have found 2 dwarf giraffes in Namibia and Uganda. British medical journal says the giraffes have been diagnosed with skeletal dysplasia. With an average height of roughly 16 feet, giraffes are the tallest mammals on Earth. But scientists were stunned when they came across 2 giraffes suffering from the dwarfism. In 2018, scientists discovered an 8.5-foot giraffe in Namibia. Earlier in 2015, they also found a 9-foot 3-inch giraffe in Uganda. The British Medical Journal says in both the cases, the giraffes had the standard long necks but short, stumpy legs. More stories to follow right after a short break. Stay tuned. Pakistan has improved its position on the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index in 2020. The country's position has advanced for the second consecutive year from 136 to 108. The highest progress of 58 points is reported in starting a business indicator, improving from 130 to 72. In its annual report, Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan said World Bank acknowledged 6 reform areas. Pakistan is placed at second position in South Asian countries in terms of ease of starting a business. The integration of electronic services at the federal level and business registration portals in Punjab and Sindh led to the index improvement. Deutsche Bank will pay around $125 million to avert a U.S. prosecution. This comes as the latest blow to the German bank as it tries to rebound from a series of scandals. The bank faces charges over engagement in foreign bribery schemes and manipulating metal markets. It agreed to the payout as it entered a 3-year deferred prosecution agreement with the U.S. Justice Department. The bank said it took responsibility for the past actions which occurred from 2008 to 2017 and will fully cooperate with the authorities. Germany's largest lender has been struggling to restore profitability after 5 years of losses. China has established new rules for countering unjustified trade laws imposed by foreign states on Chinese companies and citizens. In a notice, the Commerce Ministry said the new working mechanism will assess the legal implications of foreign legislations. The notice said Chinese entities restricted by foreign countries may report to the ministry. It said the ministry will assess such cases for its potential violation of international law. The notice said the Chinese government will also enact necessary countermeasures in response. The new rules come amid an ongoing backlash against various Chinese companies from foreign governments, especially the US. In cricket, Australia have tightened their grip on the third test, gaining a lead of 197 runs over India on day 3. The Kangaroos posted 103 runs on board for the loss of 2 wickets on close-up play at Sydney Cricket Ground. Marnus Labuschagne remains unbeaten on 47, while Steven Smith is 29 not out. Earlier, the tourists were all out for 244 runs, losing their last 6 wickets for an addition of just 49 runs. Pat Cummins rolled through the Indians' batting lineup, claiming 4 wickets for 29 runs. The 4-match Test series is level at 1-1 with the 4th and the final test starting on the 15th of January in Brisbane. In tennis, Russia's Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova stuns former world number 1 Karolina Pliskova in the second round of the Abu Dhabi Open. The 21-year-old qualifier took only 72 minutes to secure a straight-set victory against Czech Pliskova. The Russian made her WTA main draw debut this week and earned her first tour level victory in the first round. She will aim to keep her breakthrough run going when she faces Spain's Sara Sorribes-Tormo for a spot in the quarterfinals. In another fixture, top seed Sofia Kenin reached the last 16 after Belgian Kirsten Flipkens had to retire with an ankle injury. Cameron Norrie has reached the second round of Delray Beach Open tennis in Florida. The 25-year-old British secured a dominant win over American JC Aragon 6-2 and 6-1. He took only 67 minutes to dispatch his competitor. Norrie will face off with third seed Adrian Manarino in a bid to reach the final 8 of the tournament. In another contest, Ivo Karlovic of Croatia beat 7-seeded Pablo Andujar of Spain 6-3, 5-7 and 6-4 in the first round. Karlovic, the oldest player to win an ATP Tour match since 1995, earned his first tour victory since last February. Meanwhile, qualifier Roberto Queiroz overcame a shaky stretch in the first set to defeat American Noah Rubin 7-6 and 6-3. In football, Borussia Mnchengladbach have edged leaders Bayern Munich 3-2 in their Bundesliga encounter. Jonas Hoffmann scored twice to hand Bayern their fourth defeat in 60-game reign. Robert Lewandowski earned Bayern their lead in the 20th minute with a penalty. 6 minutes later, Leon Goretzka capitalized on Bavarians' lead with a crisp effort from 20 meters out. But Gladbach forward Hoffmann equalized the game, scoring in the 36th minute and then in the first half stoppage time. Gladbach's winner came in 49th minute with a thundering drive from midfielder Florian Neuhaus. Bayern still top the German league with 33 points, while Gladbach are on 7th with 24. Moving on to the FA Cup, Liverpool have thrashed COVID-affected Aston Villa 4-1 to reach the fourth round of the competition. Sadio Mane secured the lead for the Reds in the 4th minute, followed by 17-year-old Louis Berry equalizing for Villa. The Reds came back strong in the second half, scoring 3 goals in a 5-minute spell. Jorginho Wijnaldum scored Liverpool's second, followed by Mane's header and Mohamed Salah's low shot. In another fixture, Wolverhampton Wanderers beat Crystal Palace 1-0 to make their way into the 4th round. 24-year-old Adama Traore's left-foot drive past the Palace keeper proved to be the winner for the hosts. Another weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus News.